Okay, so Morgan Nick is, it was until 2021 an unsolved case. They do think they've solved it now. I don't think they have. The more I keep looking into this case, the more I think you got the wrong person. So I'm going to tell you about it because there was a DNA match, and I'll explain to you why I don't think it's the right DNA match. I think it may have been from the right family. I don't think it's from the right man, personally. So I'll explain it to we go along. So Morgan Nick was a 6-year-old little girl. She loved animals, especially her newly adopted kitten that she slept with in her bed every night. And she enjoyed doing arts and crafts and scouts. And she was just finishing off her kindergarten year in school in the Ozarks. Now, she was a big sister to a younger brother, and the younger sister, she was a big sister to a younger brother and younger sister. And her parents had only just recently divorced, but her life was stable and happy, and her mum was a great mum, and her mum has fought for her every day, like honestly. So on Friday, June the 9th, do I want to start there or not? Oh, yeah, I do want to start there. So on Friday, the 9th of June in 1995, a friend invited Colleen Nick, who was Morgan Nick's mum, to come to a Little League game in Alma, Arkansas, sorry. So she lived in Little Rock in Arkansas. Now, we know that the game was 30 minutes away from the Morgan home. The Nick home, so Morgan Nick, yes. Sorry, I need to get my head back in the game. I'm still thinking about Victoria, Derbyshire. So Colleen thought it'd be a good opportunity for her to go to the Little League game, take the kids, and kind of get the kids tired before bedtime, because it was just about to come dark. It was around 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. It was going to get dark, and she thought, we'll just go and sit with some other families, we'll chill, we'll watch the Little League game. And the 2 younger kids were off with their grandparents, so it was only her and Morgan. So she's like, Morgan can go and spend time with my friends' kids who are the same age. We'll watch the Little League game, we'll all stay together, and it will all be good. Now, as they attended the game that night, Morgan ran off to play with 2 other children. Now, we know that Morgan and the other 2 children she was with could see fireflies. And the fireflies were all around like the car park and the field next to where the baseball was being played. So they run off into these fields to look at the fireflies and try to like catch them and stuff. And it's all really cute and like kid-like. The 2 children come back from the field, and Morgan never is seen again. Morgan Nick has never been seen since that night in 1995, when she was just 6 years of age. Now, we know that in the last couple of years, cases have started to be solved by DNA, and we know that Morgan's case apparently has been solved. But I'm going to tell you a bit more about the case before we delve into the kind of DNA thing and why I think it's wrong. So Morgan Nick was born Morgan Chantel Nick on September the 12th, 1988. Her parents were John and Colleen Nick, and they had 2 more children after Morgan before divorcing in 1994, the year before this. You may have, Jem. So Morgan was described by her kindergarten teacher as adorable, blonde hair, twinkling blue eyes, and she had the cutest giggle. She talked about her new adopted kitten all the time, on and on, and she especially loved animals. Now, on the June the 9th, 1995, Colleen was invited by friends to attend the Children's Little League game, like we just said, and they were going to go and just spend the evening there. Now, the 2 kids, that's really important because we will talk about their witness testimony later on. The 2 kids were 8 and 10, Morgan was 6, and we know they're only identified by the names Jess and Ty, 1 boy and 1 girl, because of their age and obviously the fact that they wouldn't be identified as more because they were kids. Now, Morgan's mum, Colleen, later said that Morgan asked several times if she could go and play, and I said no. She didn't want Morgan running off. There was over 300 people there, and she wanted Morgan to stay by her. But Morgan continued to beg. The other 2 kids said, look, we'll look after her. And eventually Colleen said, as long as you don't go further than the car park. And we're talking about 100 foot away from her mum, at a space where there's this Little League game going on, over 100 adults, 300 people all together. And they are just running up and down this little hill, this tiny little hill, next to the baseball pitch to catch these fireflies. Now, at the end of the game, it's getting close to 10:30 p.m. It's late, okay? Thank you, whipped cream. it's 10:30 at night. It's dark, right? But the stadium, the pitch is kind of lit up with the floodlights. It doesn't seem that dark. Everything's kind of, it's 1995. Things are very different. Now, Colleen says she can see the children. She can see them running up and down the hill. She can hear Morgan giggling. After about 10 minutes, the game ended, and they go to get the kids, and they see Jess and Ty, and Morgan is not there. Colleen says, "Where's Morgan?" And they told Colleen that they had stopped near Colleen's car in the car park, and they're leaning against it to empty the sand from the sand, like the sand hill from their shoes. And Morgan is leaned up against it, trying to take her shoes off to empty it. And then they start running off to the field, thinking that Morgan is behind them, but she isn't. Colleen takes off towards the parking lot, calling for her daughter, shouting Morgan over and over again, and she can't find her anywhere, and panic begins to set in. Hundreds of people walking about and leaving the field, and everyone's already started to drive away, which is just causing us so much panic. And can you imagine that at that time, thinking Morgan's missing and you're looking for her, and cars are already leaving, and you don't know if she's in the cars, you don't know if she's in any of those vehicles, and as they're leaving, you're just thinking any of these cars could have my daughter in it, like any of them. Now, when she can't find, you'd be frantic, wouldn't you, Jasper? You'd just be thinking, like, oh my God, like, you just can't see her anywhere. A man nearby hears Colleen screams and asks what's going on, and Colleen says she can't find her daughter. And people start helping, and people start calling 911 from their cell phones, and police arrive to the area within 6 minutes. Now, at that time, the police believe that Morgan must have just wandered off or got lost. And they're even, because it's such a small, safe town, it's a town called Alma, they start thinking maybe Morgan's got into the wrong car by accident. And they say, like, is there anyone who she may have got in their car? Is there a car that looked like yours that she may have just, like, been tired? She's 6, it's 10:30. And everyone in this small town wants to believe that something's happened other than something evil in the beginning. And I think as a mum, your head would go to those places, anything but think the worst. The police start searching, they find nothing. They collect a bunch of items from the park area, trash, cigarette butts, soda cans to test for DNA, but they have nothing to compare it to. And most of those items likely belong to all of the people watching the game that night. The police talk extensively to Jess and Ty, who talk about catching the fireflies, and they did remember something in passing. They said, when the police asked them, did they remember anything unusual? They said that there was a man stood next to a red truck and they thought he was creepy. Now, they said the man was stood next to the pickup truck watching the ball game, and occasionally he would turn to stare at the children, and they all kind of whispered to each other like, he's a weirdo. Now, this is the sketch the kids did, right? Now, this is really important with what I'm going to say later on. So this is the sketch of the man, okay? So this was made by the 2 children who were also with her, and it said, "You know who I am. I was seen with Morgan Nick in Alma on Friday, June the 9th, 1995. Your hesitation to call the police and tell them who I am, for whatever reason, means that I could abduct your loved one next." Which is slightly harsh from the police, but I get what they're saying. Now, can I just ask quickly, because this is going to become very important later on to me, how old do you think this man is? What would you give a guess off of that profile picture, off of that sketch? If you had to say what kind of age kind of category he was in, what would you say? 36, okay. 25 to 35, 30, 35, 40. All right. I would not go as old as 40. I would say probably 25 to 35, like someone said, because you wouldn't really know it's from a kid's sketch. So I think I would probably go for that, or 30s. I would even go 20. I would even go 22 to 32 kind of thing. To me, like, I don't know, he looks way younger. Okay. Okay, so that's important. This is Morgan's mum, Colleen, with her daughter with the age progressed picture. I'll talk about a little bit about that in a minute. The kids told the police the man had on denim cutoffs, shorts, no shirt on. He had a hairy chest and no shoes on. They said he had salt and pepper greyish hair, which is important for me to tell you now, and that he was 25 to 38 years of age. And they determined this by looking at loads of different pictures of people, what age they kind of thought he'd be. Now, police are like, okay, and and they kind of said 30s to 40s in their press release. Now, no one else come forward and said they saw this man there. I do have a picture of the vehicle, actually. He was said to be driving, I think, as well. It was this vehicle that he was said to be leaning against. So we see this picture here, and I will go on to describe what it says underneath and stuff in a wee while. Let's put up the pictures of Morgan. These are all the age progressive pictures done over the years of Morgan with her first picture. She's a beautiful little girl. Now, police hone in on this tip from the kids because they don't have anything else. And they start looking for a red truck. They find some witnesses who thought they do remember a red truck, possibly a Ford at the scene with a white cap or the camper top on. Colleen is taken down to the station where she contacts John and let him know that Morgan is missing. John comes to Alma and the police continue to speak to both of them. The police quite quickly rule out these parents. These parents doing absolutely everything they can to help. They're both devastated. The police then start to receive some tips and they turn the courthouse into a temporary kind of location point for searches, and they do a lot of kind of search at the time. They begin to investigate and the police learn some other unsettling things. Earlier on that same day, Morgan disappeared on June the 9th. There was an attempted kidnapping of a 4-year-old girl. The girl screamed and alerted her parents to the front yard, and the suspect driving a red truck got away. The next day on June the 10th, just 12 miles away in Fort Smith, Arkansas, a 9-year-old girl possibly had an encounter with the same man. The man had attempted to get the girl to go into the men's restroom with him, and she refused. And when they showed the girl the picture of Morgan's photo fit of the man, she got overly upset, and that was just 12 miles away. In late June of 1995, the police received a tip from Stuttgart in Arkansas. Albert Harvey was working in his yard when he caught a man trying to break into his pickup truck. He successfully chased him away and said the man was pulling a young girl with him that he recognised as Morgan Nick. A massive search took place all over Stuttgart, eventually overnight, and Colleen and John were flown from Alma to Stuttgart by private plane, and it just turned up to nothing. They then gave the man, Harvey, a lie detector, and after a while he admitted he just made it up for fun. So this man who'd got these grieving parents at this point, not knowing what happened to their child, to come all the way up to Stuttgart by private plane, really thought she was in the area, and then he fails through lie detectors, and then he goes, well, and he actually did say it was Morgan Nick. He was like, it was definitely her, and he was dragging her into a van. We see this all the time. I just don't understand why people do it. It's a child. He apologised to law enforcement and search teams, recognising the terrible conditions were out there, and he said that he's really sorry because he put people's lives in danger, because when they went to Stuttgart, it was awful that night, and there was searchers out, the parents were out. He was arrested, and I don't know what happened from them, because it doesn't really say a lot in the paper. Now, in 1996, Colleen Nick formed the Morgan Nick Foundation a year later. Thank you, Gemma. Now, I want to just quickly take a break here to tell you about this. The Morgan Nick Foundation is a website that everybody should use. There is so many different places on there for internet safety for children, videos for children of all ages. There's like from really young about, I did take some pictures of it. The menu on the website is absolutely fantastic. So this is one of the websites of on here. You've got resources for kids, resources for parents, about child safety, about stranger danger, about online problems. You've got managing devices, stop a crisis, resources for teachers. Everybody should be using this. Now, for little ones, really little ones, like 3 to 4 years of age, there's these little dancing videos. Ali, and she dances and sings songs about ask your parents before you touch a device, ask your parents before you download a new program, you talk to a stranger, and it just goes up over the ages. And yeah, I can do it in a video as well, but people need to know about these. It's free for everybody. Morgan Nick's mum has worked tirelessly ever since 1995 to keep other people's children safe. Okay, so just put in the Morgan Nick Foundation online and it will come up. It's literally just under the Morgan Nick Foundation. I think I've got on the other screenshot, you can see it. Yeah, just the Morgan Nick Foundation. Screenshot this now screenshot this now so that you can know where to go to. But it's a mother's blood, sweat and tears have gone into this to protect other children. Now, it'll also tell you about like the Missing Kids Foundation. It will link you to those things, so they've got resources. What children should say to strangers, like the real life impact that has saved lives. So that is one thing. So has everyone screenshotted that needs to? Every single one of these cases I tried to do it where we can at least talk about something that will save future children, future victims. And they would link you to loads of their videos on YouTube. I watched 3 or 4 of them saying they're so like they're almost like the songs like Baby Shark and things like that, but like they're really catchy, so the kids will love them and the kids will dance to them, they'll remember the words and stuff, and it goes right up to teenagers. Resources for teachers. Really do use these things. Those free things that are available. It comes from a little girl who went missing and her family trying to bring about change. So in 1996, Colleen formed the Morgan Nick Foundation. It was a way to help other families. Now, I remember her setting this up. I don't remember that time, but I remember like 10 years ago watching her documentary, and she started it at home, like in the dining room, and then it eventually got massive where she was helping so many families. They offer support, help make flyers and provide families with resources. And she does that from all the things she learned for her search for Morgan. Arkansas would go on to rename the Amber Alert to the Morgan Nick Alert. In January of 2000, police received a tip that Morgan was buried on a property in Boonville in Arkansas. Boonville is only an hour away from where she went missing. The FBI commenced on Boonville and began a dig, and they literally went inch by inch through the dirt, but nothing would be found there. It seemed like this was another cruel tip-off, just a joke. On November the 15th, 2010, a confidential informant told the police that he believed Morgan Nick was buried on the home of a convicted child molester in Spiro in Oklahoma. The person was currently incarcerated, and it was a mobile home. So they went out there, they did a dig, looked for signs, there was nothing. In 2017, they went back to this home with another warrant and searched the outdoor areas and performed a dig. Nothing was found. In 2012, police discovered 2 people using Morgan's identification and social security number. They were able to track them down and arrest them, and they were identified as Tonya Smith and James Monhart. They saw there was nothing between this couple and Morgan's death. They were just using her details, her security information. It was identity theft. So I'm going to just add this here because I think I always try to give you all of the case information. Now, a journalist at one point started to dig into the case, and he digged into Morgan's father, John Nick, and he found some really strange kind of things. And I don't want to add any unnecessary grief to a family, but this is all over online, and if you search Morgan's name, you're going to come across it. So I don't want to seem like I'm just giving you one side of a case. So in the early 1990s, and possibly continuing indefinitely, John Nick was a low-level drug dealer, mostly marijuana. And in 2006, a man by the name of Clifford Pullen was arrested. And it seemed that there were some places in this case, which turned out not to be true, to be fair, but it feels like Morgan Nick's father, at least, thank you, Kirsty, should have brought this forward to police to look for that possible connection. Thank you, Kirsty. Because there was a chance that maybe someone in that trade, thank you, Kirsty, had taken Morgan as retribution or something, but by not bringing it up, it just seems that he eluded some information. Now, his rap sheet, his criminal history, said that he has 1987 battery, 3rd degree, 1987 legacy system criminal violation, 1987 criminal mischief, January 2006 possession, controlled counterfeit substance, January 2006, possession of controlled counterfeit substance, drug and firearms simultaneous possession in 2006, 2006, possess, use, deliver, advertise drug paraphernalia, and January of 2006, endangering the welfare of a minor. Now, so all of that kind of around those people that they were like around, he definitely should have brought that forward to police and be like, I would like you to rule out this kind of life. And we know that one of the men that actually dealt to him, a Vietnam veteran called Pullen Clifford, he had actually been convicted of crimes against children as well. And Clifford had a connection to the Nick family and may have possibly met Morgan. Now, it turned out that he wasn't involved, but as a father, surely you would have put that on the table so it could have been ruled out. So, now, we know that the police have now come forward all these years later and said that they know the man who is responsible for Morgan's murder. And they say it's this man here. Right. I think so, Elizabeth. You can go and have a look. I've not been on this week, so let me go to this newspaper article quickly because I have some issues with this. So, where was the thing? Okay. Is this one I had open? No, this is for tomorrow. This could be really good. Okay. Okay. So according to the press release, go to DNA because that's what I want to see. According to, no, her body's never been found. So in October of 2024, significant advancements in DNA technology led to a major breakthrough in the 1995 disappearance of 6-year-old Morgan Nick. Ortham Labs used forensic grade genome sequencing to identify a hair, thank you Kirsten so much, a hair found in the back of this man, a paedophile's truck. The hair was belonging to the Nick family, Morgan's family, okay? So they then said this man who is already dead would be the killer of Morgan, okay? Because he drove a red truck very similar and he had blonde hair in the back of his truck, which was then DNA linked to Morgan's family, okay? Now, he died in prison in 2000 and he has been said is the only suspect, but it can't go any further, even though it comes 30 years after he disappeared because he's already dead. Okay. Now, the problem I find with this is this. So when I looked earlier on, I was looking into the case, a posting on Reddit, first of all, thank you, Kirsty, thank you, Ro, says, Andy, his son, would have been 26 at the time of Morgan's disappearance. Okay, Andy, his son. So remember that for a second. Thank you, Kirsty. Billy Jack Links would have been 67 at the time of her disappearance. So they said that based off of this picture, they said this is a 67-year-old man. It can't be. So then I'm like, I need to see who his son is, and his son is a convicted paedophile. He's on the sex offender registry. And when you look into his crimes, they're extensive and they're horrific against children. So then I've got to think to myself, he was 26 at the time that Morgan went missing. And he much more likely would be believed to me as being the man the children saw. Because even though his dad was also a paedophile, he does... This is a picture taken of him 3 years after Morgan went missing. Does he look like he is literally standing shirtless at a game about to try and take a child who's 6 when he doesn't even look like he can hold up his own shirt? I just don't know how they haven't put that together. So they've named the sex offender as, which is the dad. I think it's the son. So that picture of the son, the only one I can find, he's 41 in this picture. Okay, so we're talking about 14 years before, okay? Now, when I looked up loads of his, I couldn't look at a lot of the articles to do with him because a lot of the articles to do with him, Andrew Links, are, they're under, like, they say I'm not in the right jurisdiction because I'm not in America to open them. But a lot of you can see straight away that he has, he's a Missouri sex offender, tier 3 at one point, then it was more serious. Even on the paperwork I have there from him, you see here, he goes for kids and other people. So his latest victim here that he raped was a female 27. He was incarcerated for that. That was 2011. I think it's more likely that he borrowed his dad's truck that day. I just don't understand why they're not putting 2 and 2 together. I think they've literally looked at the person that his father was, who, by the way, was an awful fucking man. Thank you, everyone, for help with the gift goal. When you look at him, he is awful. But they are doing it through this hair found in this truck. Well, I'm sorry, but that isn't inconclusive evidence, because several members of a family can be in the back of a truck at any point. So that doesn't tell me who was driving at that time. I just don't see how the kids could have got this picture for a man who this was him. Oh, this could every time. Sorry about this, guys. Who a man, this was him 3 years later. Ruby, don't. It happens to me every fucking time I end up with fucking Goat on a Hill. Wait till I build my igloo, none of you'll be able to fucking find me. I'll be out of state. So let's look at him now. Okay, so he died at 75, although he would have been 67 at the time that he was taking her. So it says the reason why they think it's him is because in 2023, samples were sent to a lab in Texas. They used an advanced analysis to develop a DNA profile. Ultimately, it was determined that some of the hair was that of Morgan Nick's mother, Colleen Nick, one of her siblings or one of her other children. So they can only tell genetically, right, because they don't have Morgan to compare it to. The physical evidence collected from the truck that Lynx owned, where Morgan was abducted, strongly indicates that Morgan had been in that truck. They still have not found Morgan. Now, what I want to do quickly here, thank you, Kirsty. Thank you for everyone who helped with the gift goal. We're doing amazing tonight. Thank you so much. Now, I think Kirsty's made it by herself, but thank you, Kirsty. This is what Morgan would look like today. No, thank you, everyone. This is what she looked like today. What I want to do is I wanted to read this for you, because do you know what? I never ever thought about this. I did think about how sad it was, but I didn't think about the true impact of it. Her mum wrote this about what it's like to see your daughter age purely through age progressed pictures. She said the email contains an image of what her missing 6-year-old daughter Morgan might look like today. On the June 9th, 1995, Morgan was abducted by a stranger at the Little League baseball game in Alma, Arkansas. As the game was winding down, the blonde, blue-eyed little girl threw her arms around her mum's neck, gave her a big kiss in the cheek, and scampered off to chase fireflies. Today, Morgan would be 33 years of age. It pierces your heart, said Nick, watching her child grow up over the last 27 years through only age-progressed pictures, which are created by the forensic artist at the National Centre for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC. I've always said the hardest part is the age progression, is that they have to get to know Morgan through pictures that are drawn. They'll never know particularly what she looks like. I also wanted to share this with you because I think it's really important. So when I went to let me go to this page, I'll show you, because Colleen is an absolute hero. Like the things she has done, the things she's been through, and how she's helped other family. So this is from the missingkids.org, and it talks about the legacy of Morgan Nick. Now, they do share with us an open letter that her mum wrote to her on the 25th anniversary. I'm going to read this to you. So this is Morgan Nick's mum here, Colleen. She says, on June the 9th, 1995, evil ripped Morgan from our lives. Morgan was violently taken from our family by a predator, and our entire world collapsed. The word kidnap carries such a desperation and a terror for us. This is not a movie or book or some type of entertainment that holds others on the edge of their seats. This is our story, our family. She was our little girl. 25 years of fighting, a lifetime ago, and just yesterday, not one hour has gone by when I haven't thought about Morgan and missed her in our lives. We want to say all the things about how desperately we love and miss Morgan, and how we cannot possibly stand the thought it's been 25 years since we last saw her, held her, smelled her hair, kissed her goodnight. Our hearts are raw as ragged as they were the day she was taken. The weeks and months and years keep adding up. Her siblings grew up, her friends grew up. Her dad and I have a grey in our hair. Her kitten Emily waited 19 more years for Morgan to come home. She is buried in our flower bed, wrapped in her t-shirt with Morgan's picture on. Morgan's grandparents carry sadness in their eyes. Her cousins know about her through stories told to them by their parents. Her nieces and nephews don't yet understand who she was or what happened to her. We dread the day they're old enough to understand and realise what fear looks like. Every single holiday carries a deep pain where our family gathers because the gathering magnifies her absence. New age progressions are put together. to help us find her, but instead we watch her grow up on paper. I cannot reconcile in my heart her sweet little 6-year-old self with the image of a strong, beautiful 31-year-old woman with fine lines around her eyes. This image looks like she should be somebody's wife and mama, those things she will never get to be. Babies she will never get to hold, cousins to her sweet siblings, sweet children. Nothing is ever the same. Nothing is ever okay. The brokenness is always there. We bandage it, we process it, and we get up every day and face it so we can continue to search for Morgan, so we can ensure her siblings and that our family can find joy, so that the evil that stole her from us cannot take anything else, so we can have justice for our precious girl. We are still right here fighting, me, her daddy, her brother, her sister, her grandparents, her extended family, her friends, her law enforcement team, our community. We're still fighting. We fight because she is our daughter and our granddaughter, our sister and friend. Morgan is worth fighting for. We will not give up. Morgan deserves to be found, to come home to all of us who are aching for her. Morgan, we love you forever and always. Are you an ex-police detective or qualified now? Those things just make me cry every single time. I can't imagine that. As a mum of a 7-year-old, she's been 7, I can't imagine all those years, 30 plus years now, without ever, looking at age progressions, thinking like, would she look like that? Thinking, is it even hopeful? Do you hope that she made it through that, or that she was dead so she didn't have to go for it? Like, you just would never know. And then you hear that this DNA links us to this man. He's already dead. There's no chance of getting her body back again. And then every now and again you would read these things in a newspaper. Oh right, okay, thank you, Lana. I'll have a look at that in a minute. You read these things in the newspaper about these girls being found in basements and being found after 15 years, and you would think like, maybe one day. And is that a good thing to wish for or not? Thank you, guys. Thank you, Susie, for the gift. Thank you, everyone who's helped with the gift goal. So Lana's put this together, which a picture of Andrew links at the time. Andrew links at the time, the son, and the picture. And this just pushed it even further for me. It was him, not his dad. So let me put the dad on the screen at the same time. So which one are you likely to believe was driving that truck that day? Put that there. Which one looks most like the age progression? The picture. It was him. Like, honestly, as soon as I started looking, and then I saw what they said, what the kids had seen. And I thought, now, because a young man like that, a 26-year-old at a baseball game with no top on or whatever, leaning against the thing, like smoking, watching, no one would have thought nothing of. Him stood there at 67, no top on, big hairy chest. He looks like Santa. People would have noticed. He's in prison. Thank you, Lottie, for sex crimes. Nice. Did I send you the thing? I think the son did it. I just can't think any other way. Like, what was that thing I read about the son? It was some kind of attack on another little girl. You have a look. So let's look at this. The Highway Patrol. So that only says the most recent crime. Just talks about his dad. Let's look at that one. Release information. When was he released? Oh, he was released on the 2nd. The 20th of the 2nd, 2021. I wonder if he did 10 years for robbery and rape at one point. Thank you, Kirsty. I just think it's him. So he divorced in 2005. Thank you, Deanna, thank you. He divorced in 1995, in 2005. I would go back and ask that wife. Thank you, Winnie. I wonder if she was married to him during that time, what information she has, because people change things that maybe she would have gone, no, it's nothing. Thank you, Kirsty. She may now be thank you, Winnie. So if they looked, his actual, his dad is a horrific sex criminal. Yeah, but the thing is, if you're happy to say he is the suspect purely because it was his van, then you could say the same about him. Now, surely if you go and take DNA and do all of that, and then you start looking into where he was at the time, speak to his wife, he got divorced. After a divorce, people are very likely to change their story about how they feel about someone. Let me show. So this is what Morgan would look like today. And I'm just heartbroken for her mum that, I don't think there's many chances left of Morgan still being alive. This is a picture of Morgan at the time she went missing next to her age progression. With these stranger cases where you see a stranger take her from a baseball game, what we're talking about 95% likely to be a sexual crime, especially when it's a single male taking her from that kind of situation. We've got probably that small glimmer of 1% that someone raised her as their own, but what are the chances of that? Just can't, forever. How would you be forever 6? Nobody homicide. Her mum said she's accepted after 30 years that Morgan's not alive and she's not coming home. These are all the different pictures. They did the age progressions over the years of what she would look like.